Hey everybody, it's Bethany checking in with you guys today, and I wanted to really connect about those of you that might be emotionally or financially binging in your life, because I get it. I've been there, and it's so icky feeling. I'm just going to share this out quickly and get into what does an emotional binge look like? What does a financial binge look like? A lot of times we hear this used with eating disorders, and people, you get that unhealthy concept. And I love starting with a food analogy, actually, because food is something that we all need, right? Like, you can't go through life without eating. And so when you have what feels like a struggle around what's too much, and then the guilt and shame that comes after it, and a lot of times there's a deprivation that's associated with that as well, and it's really something that can be really paralyzing, honestly, not only when we're in the middle of it, but in the recovery period afterwards. So let me just pop this out to the rest of the world. And thank you for being here with me. Please feel free to say hi in the comments. Hit me with questions and emojis. Let me know what you're thinking around this topic. Let me know if this is something you've struggled with. So the common concept around food, where it's a tangible thing we can kind of get. The next easiest way to apply that is financially. Again, it's like a tangible thing with money, right? You know, if you spent more than you had, or if you spent more than you meant to, that might feel like a financial binge to you. And this can be a little sneakier about why it's unhealthy, though. And the reason I find that this is sneaky is especially for entrepreneurs, when we feel like, well, I need that. I need that thing that costs money, and so I'm going to spend it in order to fix this problem that I have in my life. And so it can be harder to assess in ourselves if we're financially binging. And part of that requires some self-assessment to really look at it. And then emotionally, this is the most difficult of the two to kind of get clarity around. So if you're emotionally binging, what does that even mean? Part of that, how I like to explain it, is around the concept of crazy eights. So it's when we feel like we're on this roller coaster ride of emotions that we don't necessarily have control over. And it gets really frustrating, overwhelming, and discouraging when we're on this roller coaster ride that doesn't feel good. So how do we, now that you know how to recognize what a financial binge or what an emotional binge might look like in your life, I'm going to give you kind of the antidote, what works for me when I would catch myself, when I realized it wasn't that it was one time. I realized this was a pattern that I had. And so typically I would have an emotional binge happening where it would be extreme emotions. I would be extremely overwhelmed, extremely frustrated. And it was, part of that was, I mean, I was headed straight to burnout, and I hit burnout eventually. That's part of what woke me up and caused me to be in a situation where I actually looked for these patterns. But I realized that I would actually, in an attempt to get off this crazy eight pattern of maybe going from being really angry to being depressed about my situation, and then I'd get angry about it, and then I'd get depressed about it. Hey, Sue, love that you're here. And when I realized that I was trying to stop that emotional binge pattern of going to extreme emotions with essentially what turned into an unhealthy spending pattern in my life of financially binging on what I thought were solutions. So if you're recognizing yourself in any of this, I want to just send you virtual hug. Most likely it's not because you're trying to self-sabotage. I know, at least for myself, when I was in that situation, I had the best intentions. It was, I didn't quite understand why things would get so bad before I would take action. And that's what I thought I was doing with my finances. I thought I was taking action by, hiring like shiny objects, like, oh, this might be a magic bullet to fix, this problem in my life. What I want to offer to you is what actually started working when I would have an emotional awareness. So I'd notice, okay, I'm starting to get overwhelmed. I would actually slow down. This is tip number one. I would slow down so that I could speed up and go faster towards my goals, but in a way that wasn't going to burn me out and that wasn't going to overwhelm me and wasn't going to leave me like angry and resentful and frustrated and bitter. All of these things that become red flags for anyone who's trying to have a happier life and be successful in our ventures, right? Overwhelm and burnout and resentment are not good. So by slowing down, and I went inside, right? So I had support around this. I worked with some incredible mentors during this phase of my life that really called me out on my BS, and helped me point out, no, yeah, you're investing in a business solution, but that's not conscious investing. That's not responsible investing. And so you'll see the overarching theme in what was my antidote, how I stopped doing this, is the concept of self-responsibility and taking responsibility, not just for looking inside and asking for help from outside, but taking responsibility to be a steward of my emotions and of my finances in a way that actually empowered me. It wasn't about taking self-responsibility and being like, oh, it's fine, it's all my fault, I'm the worst, I messed everything up. Don't go down into that blame game. That's not helpful. What is helpful is to take self-responsibility in a way that empowers you. And so by getting to know yourself better, you can, and that does require slowing down, which can be uncomfortable, but by getting to know yourself better, that's where you get clarity on what is it that you actually want and need. What do you really desire in this situation? So an example, I am not really good about keeping my car clean, I guess. Like, it's always a little bit messy. It's something I'm actually super embarrassed about, because when I, randomly I'll offer to give somebody a ride and I'll be like, oh, hold on, I got to clear off the front seat. And that was something, this is maybe a silly example, but sometimes I think it can be easier to hear the lesson in something that isn't so charged with, urgency and that kind of stuff. So my feelings around a car, I was just getting frustrated at myself because I don't know, I felt like, God, I'm not adulting very well. I can't even keep my car clean. What the heck? And then it would get to the point where I'd be like, well, if I'm going to clean out the inside, I really should go vacuum it. And then I should really clean it. And I got to do the windows and I don't have time for all that stuff. And, when I would start to get to this place of overwhelm, I went in, I was like, I'm just going to go buy a new car. Like, I haven't taken great care of this car. And, I just going to, a fresh start. That's what I need. That's what I need to stop feeling annoyed at myself for this thing. And so a new car would have cost me probably $35,000, $40,000. And by slowing down before I went out and went on a financial binge and just bought a new car, because I was in this emotional binge of feeling frustrated at myself and all that kind of stuff, I took some time and I was like, what's the feeling that I want? What's the desired outcome I really want? And I realized that I just wanted to feel luxurious when I got in my car. I wanted it to be a pleasant experience for me. And if I offered someone a ride, I didn't want to be embarrassed about my car. And so what's something that could solve that doesn't require buying a new car? Which, there's nothing wrong with going to buy a new car, by the way, if that's actually what you need. But I was in a place where I was doing it to put a Band-Aid on the situation. And so in this example, I decided, I could just go get my car detailed for $120. And I could buy this little car organizer thing so that I don't have stuff all over the front seat. It can have a place to go, which I can keep up with. And the benefit of that was, I felt luxurious getting in my car. And honestly, it was less than a week later, driving around was such an inspiring experience for me. Like, I had this idea, implemented it in my business, and made $4,000 that day. So this is a small example of how slowing down in order to speed up can be a much more responsible way to handle our emotions. And then I feel like the overall lesson in this that I want to leave you with is about the concept of self-responsibility in a conscious way. And I started with the food example, right? Of binging on food, because everybody understands, like, food is not something you can just give up forever. You can't not eat. But if you struggle with how much is too much, how much is not enough, or unhealthy attachments to control, and it's a really painful experience to not have a good relationship with food that unfortunately so many people can relate to. I started with that analogy because it's really a form of self-care. It's a form of self-care to choose self-responsibility. And whatever the desired outcome is for you, there's other people have been in your struggle and they know how to get where you want to go. It's your responsibility to figure out what that desired outcome looks like for you. There's no right or wrong. It doesn't have to look like my life or your neighbor's life or what your parents want or anything. This is an inside job, right? You get to choose. And then the path to get there will be that much, I don't think easier is a good word because it's not always easy, but it'll at least be simplified for you. So I love seeing you guys hop on, and I appreciate you being here. Really, as you get into the place of wanting to stop any emotional or financial binging you've been doing, I encourage you to take self-responsibility for consciously spending your time, your money, and your energy on things that are going to get you your desired outcome. The same way that you would be responsible with someone else's time, money, or energy. The same way that you would look at somebody else's life and it'd be so easy to go fix their stuff, right? It's totally worth it to do that for yourself. Give yourself the gift of taking responsibility for how you're processing emotions and for any patterns in your finances that are maybe less than, there's nothing wrong with investing in yourself. My hope for you is that from today, you'll be able to look at yourself and your situation a little bit differently enough to have a better outcome so that you can be responsible for how you're spending your time, money, and energy in a way that actually gets you what you want instead of just shiny object, shiny object, shiny object. And just know that I've been there. It is so much better on the other side. My stuff got so bad that I would be in an emotional binge and actually go into a financial binge on self-care stuff. I'd be like, that's it. I need a $2,000 spa day will fix my life. And now when I go for a $2,000 spa day, it's something that I've consciously chosen. It's in the budget. It's something I've been looking forward to. So I have good emotions around it. I'm good with my finances around it. So it's not about right or wrong with how you're feeling or how you're spending your money. It's about what's best for you, because ultimately being your best self so you can be happy is what the world needs more of. So until next time, I'll leave you guys with that. Can't wait to hear from you. Bye-bye.